A commodity, a raw material or agricultural product that can be bought or sold, such as copper or coffee. A commodity is a basic good used in commerce that is interchangeable with other commodities of the same type. Commodities are most often used in inputs in the production of other goods or services. Hard commodities refer to energy and metal products, while soft commodities are often agricultural products. Investors and traders can buy and sell commodities directly in the spot cash market or via derivatives such as futures and options. Many investors view allocating commodities in a portfolio as a hedge against inflation. Now, why is Crypto Dream talking about these things? I'm Crypto Dream. I try to read the books, try to be as educated so I can give you guys valuable information that you won't get anywhere else. Today, we're talking about commodities. We've had a lot of discussions in past time about securities and how crypto is or is not a security. The SEC has been going after securities, claiming that everything left and right is a security other than Bitcoin and Ethereum. And I kind of want to discuss why that is. In my recent reading, I've been reading Murray N. Rothbard, What Has the Government Done to Our Money? As he started the book, he started talking about money and what money is. And at one point, what caught my eye was it referred to money as a commodity. Bitcoin and Ethereum has been referred to as commodity. If what he claims in the book is that money is a commodity, and we have this thing called cryptocurrency, which is usually interchangeable with money, currency, why is the government going so hard on crypto? I took advantage of Bing's chat. If you're asking whether fiat is a security in the context of finance, then it is important to note that the term security has a specific meaning in finance. A security is a financial instrument that represents ownership in a publicly traded corporation, a creditor relationship with the governmental body or a corporation, or rights to ownership as represented by an option. Fiat currency does not fall under this definition. So fiat, which is pretty much defined as by decree, it's not based off anything. We used to have the gold standard, which means that you could trade your money for gold. Now we have fiat, which doesn't have anything back in it. The government says it has value, therefore it has value. Bing's chat also claims, which it gets this information from a bunch of different articles shown in the picture below, Bitcoin is not a security because it is not regulated like other securities, and it doesn't have a third-party involvement. Bitcoin is also decentralized, meaning that there is no central party whose effects are a key determining factor in the enterprise. The Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, uses the criterion of decentralization to determine whether a crypto asset is a security or not. So it's looking like Bitcoin isn't a security. Like I said, Ethereum's not considered a security either. So if Bitcoin is not a security, then it's a commodity. Bitcoin is a commodity because it shares several similarities with commodities, such as durability and fungibility. The CFTC defined Bitcoin as a commodity because it looks and acts like a commodity. Bitcoin is a durable asset that can be stored for an extended period of time without losing its value. Bitcoin is a unit of transaction upon which other layers, contracts, and methods of securing data records can be based. But, maybe money isn't a commodity. I mean, fiat currency is not a security, so maybe fiat money is a commodity. Money is not a commodity, but it can be made from one. Commodity money is a type of currency whose value comes from the commodity of which it is made. Examples of commodities that have been used as a media of exchange include gold, silver, copper, salt, peppercorns, tea, jewelry, shells, alcohol, cigarettes, silk, cereal, candy, nails, detergents, clothing, fuel, and more. Money, on the other hand, is exchange that is widely accepted in transactions involving goods and services. It is not a commodity in itself, but can be used to purchase commodities. Money can be made from paper, plastic, metal, and its value is determined by the government that issues it. Thanks, Bean Chat. To keep going over this, we'll discuss what commodities are. Wikipedia talks about commodities are rare materials that go into making all the goods that we rely on in our daily lives. For example, corn is used manufacturing breakfast cereal. Well, it might be corn. A piece of corn, right? Most commodities are products that come from the earth that possess uniform quality, are processed in large quantities, and by many different producers. Commodity prices typically rise when inflation accelerates, which is why investors often flock to them for their protection during times of increased inflation, particularly unexpected inflation. We discuss usually in crypto that Bitcoin is a hedge against inflation. A lot of times, many people just look at Bitcoin as a way to make tons of money. Every 4 years with the halving, of course, the making of another Bitcoin or mining of a Bitcoin gets cut in half. And I mean, we've had 19 million, there's 21 million total that will be done. It's kind of interesting how much gold and Bitcoin have been kind of used so similar. I mean, when they talked about making Bitcoin, they talked about mining it. People referred to miners. People really looked to Bitcoin as the gold. And I don't think that'll ever change. When you go to bitcoin.org, when doing my research for this video, I noticed that merchants often deposit and display prices in their local currency. In other cases, Bitcoin works similarly to a foreign currency. To get appropriate guidance regarding tax compliance for your own jurisdiction, you should contact a qualified accountant. So Bitcoin's basically set up as a currency. One of the things that irritates me so much is when we talk about regulation. I would think that Bitcoin should fall into currency because that's what it's intended to be for transactions peer-to-peer. But for some reason, we have to come up with a lot more rules. Mostly, in my opinion, is because the government wants control over currency, which makes sense because when it comes to currency, there's a lot more tied into currencies than what we usually have. You have symbols, you have aspirations to what you want the country to be, and you want to make sure that things aren't inflatable. You don't want people being able to make tons of it and people invest in their entire life savings into a currency and it be devalued, which ironically is happening with fiat. Bitcoin isn't really inflatable like that. Let's look at the white paper. A purely peer-to-peer version of electronic cash that would allow online payments to be sent directly from one party to another without going through a financial institution. Digital signatures provide part of the solution, but the main benefits are lost if a trusted third party is required to prevent double spending. We propose a solution to the double spending problem using the peer-to-peer network. Bitcoin was made to be cash. When you think about our government and how they print money when they want to, and then it goes to the banks, and then gets paid to the banks, right? Central bank. Bitcoin originally is intended to kind of get out of the banking system because we've seen what happened in 2008. That was the big inspiration when it came to Bitcoin, was to not allow the manipulation of our time, energy, and life savings. But this mix between corporations and government, they don't really want people to be able to save and retain the value. They want to be able to siphon some of that off for themselves, in my opinion. Not financial advice. I'm just going YouTube. I love Bitcoin because it's our opportunity to get away from the banks that siphon the money off from us. When you think about money is tended to be deflationary. It's supposed to be that the processes in which you make things, the services, they get more efficient over time. The competition between businesses, products should be cheaper over time. But the Federal Reserve expects and hopes and aims for a 2% inflation rate. I mean, this is good for all businesses and banks because the inflation rate makes it to where people don't hold, they constantly spend. We have a consumer nation and they want to be able to have consumers. And the more consuming that there is, the government loves it. Why? Because they tax more. Bitcoin, for instance, though it is not deflationary at this point, there will be a time when there's no more to be mined. There will be many Bitcoins that have been lost in the process. It will be deflationary, and the value of it will go up with time. When you look at the increasing rate of inflation, well, not increasing, but compounding interest of our money, you can see why it's so desirable, especially when you look at situations like Social Security. Social Security is going to run out before I even get to time of cashing it out. You have Elizabeth Warren, which has been in the news. I've been talking about her so much lately. And she wants to shut it down because of criminal processes. I don't know if she knows this, but I mean, our money is exchanged without the government ever knowing. That's not the real reason behind all that. And CBCs are knocking at the door. Over the past year, we've seen XRP not a security. I'm not the XRP expert, but I believe that XRP was made to kind of be a currency also. It is a cryptocurrency, you know. They've talked about working with banks for central bank digital currency, CBDCs. So I assume that they're very big in the idea of being a form of money, which should be a commodity, not a security. What's the rationale behind institutional sales being illegal? According to the order, Ripple's claim of XRP acting as nothing more than a currency or utility token cannot stand when many investors signed agreements to not sell their XRP until a specific period of time had passed. In other words, there's no possibility of these XRP tokens to act as anything other than speculative investments during these lockup periods. Additionally, the court also cited investment contracts, especially stated that the buyer was purchasing XRP solely to resell them or otherwise distribute. The court order indicates institutional investors purchasing XRP understood they were purchasing the token as an investment based on the efforts of Ripple Labs, which is the key aspect of the Howey test. So that's one reason why it's considered as security, right? But that's only part of that certain process of how they're trying to establish themselves. One interesting bit of information I want to bring to your attention was that there was a time before the Federal Reserve, before even we had issued money for the United States. How on earth did we operate? It wasn't with just gold and silver. All these articles will be posted in the description below, by the way. The first Bank of the United States, 1791, and the second Bank of the United States, 1816, were the two procurers banks to the Federal Reserve System in the United States. They were responsible for issuing the small quantities of paper currency that circulated in the early years of the United States. After the second Bank of the United States closed in 1836, the dominant form of currency became private banknotes issued by state-chartered commercial banks, normally redeemable on the demand of gold and silver. The United States didn't have a uniform currency, national currency. The system state bank issuing of the currency notes was confusing and inefficient. By the 1860s, as many as 8,000 different issues of state bank notes were circulating in the United States, with the vast distances to be covered and the lack of efficient means of transportation, banks rarely accepted, at face value, notes issued by banks unknown to them. A lot of people are very annoyed with the many different types of cryptocurrencies. But when you look at money before we had the Federal Reserve, there was 8,000 different kinds of banknotes. We had a free market when it comes to banknotes. In economics, a free market of economic system in which prices of goods and services are determined by supply and demand expressed by buyers and sellers, such as markets as modeled operated within. But now we have a government monopoly over currency. A lot of people want this regulation when it comes to crypto. I love the competition when it comes between cryptos. And though it might be confusing for some, we can see when things are inflated or deflated so quickly. I just hope you guys give a second look when it comes to regulation and how important it is to narrow down the scope of cryptos. Yes, there'll be gold and silver coins, cryptos, tokens, ones that are blue check marks and ones that are not. But I think society is better when we have an option instead of a mandated currency, because we see where that's going. Inflation hitting all-time highs, interest being $1 trillion a month. It's just a matter of time, people. As you know, I'm Crypto Dream. So if you liked the video, please like it. I would really appreciate if you left a comment, tell me what you're interested in, what subject, what aspects of this video most intrigued you. I'm actually thinking about looking at monopolies in the next video, but that depends on you. Please consider like, sharing, and subscribing. My dream for this year is to hit that 1,000 subscriber mark, but that depends on the people that watch. Follow this dream that we can all dream together. I think you might be interested in the video about to pop up, and thank you for watching.